Which Harry Potter movie is your favorite? I don't think any of them are bad, but there are definitely some that stand out against the others. Today, I'll be ranking all 8 movies by how much I enjoyed them. I hope you enjoy, and here we go.
The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware.
At number 8, I have The Chamber of Secrets Harry Potter 2. This is the worst of the Harry Potter movies to me. It is too kiddie and doesn't get away with it like the first one because it isn't really introducing us to that much like that was. Once again, I don't dislike any of these movies, but it's clear to me that this is the worst. Another big problem with it is how dang long it was, and for all of the runtime, there's not a whole lot that happens. All the people who almost die survive, and they don't even know how important destroying the diary was until 4 years later. I thought the basilisk was cool, and the idea that some people can speak to snakes was interesting. I thought Lockhart was an absolute doofus, and Myrtle was annoying. I liked their introduction to Polyjuice Potion, but I think they could have gotten the answers that they wanted in a much easier way. This is the start of the movies where Harry just always blames Malfoy for whatever's going wrong, and he's right sometimes, but it's still annoying. It also irritated me that Ron was just allowed to have a broken wand all year. Like, I know they aren't very well off, but couldn't someone with tremendous wealth like Dumbledore help out? It never says he's rich, but I have no doubt he's loaded. We got to meet Dobby this year, which was pretty cool because he saved Harry from getting murdered at the end of the movie by Lucius. He was about to do Avada Kedavra, and that's insane, right outside of Dumbledore's door. I do like this movie, it just isn't as interesting or action-packed as the others. And it's the last one that is kiddie before it starts to get a little more serious in tone. Altogether, I did like this movie though, even if it's in last place.
Tell them I mean no harm! I'm sorry, Professor. I must not tell lies.
At number 7, I have The Order of the Phoenix, which is the 5th movie in the series. This to me is the most non-memorable movie of all 8. Which is crazy because this one has Umbridge and the Battle of the Ministry, but it's still like 90% filler in my opinion. It gets made worse that it came out right after Goblet of Fire, which is one of the more entertaining of the movies. But I still do like this movie. 2 characters that really frustrate me throughout this entire movie are Umbridge, obviously, but also Dumbledore. Umbridge is obvious, like, she's awful. Everything she says and does is truly evil. We've met Dementors, Death Eaters, and Voldemort himself, but she gave me the worst gut reaction out of everyone. The problem with her is that everybody knows someone just like her. Someone bigoted, pompous, and just so smug. She was so well acted because I hated her character the entire time. Now let's talk about Dumbledore. I think he truly acted in a way that got Sirius killed in the movie. By pushing Harry away and not talking to him, he drove Harry mad. Not only that, but he knew Harry was struggling with his connection to Voldemort, and he did practically nothing to help. The most he did was ask the person who maybe hates him most in the entire school to try to teach him occlumency. Dumbledore truly failed as a protector and friend to Harry in this movie. And this movie had a few big plot points. Firstly, Umbridge is here. She's the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher and refuses to teach them spells. And because of this, they form Dumbledore's army, and Harry teaches them how to defend themselves. Another plot point was the connection between Voldemort and Harry's mind. They can feel each other's emotions and can sometimes even read each other's mind. The last one was Harry continuing his crush on Cho Chang. It doesn't seem that big, but it kind of was. It didn't work out for them at the end, but it was a large part of the movie. Something I forgot to mention was the addition of Luna Lovegood in this movie. She's really such a kind and delightful character. She was such a comfort to Harry, especially at the end after he lost Sirius. Last thing I want to talk about was the fight between Dumbledore and Voldemort at the end of the movie. It was so cool, and I wish we got more fights like this in the series. All that being said, though, it's not my favorite Harry Potter, but it was good, and I still do enjoy it to this day.
Avada Kedavra.
At number 6, I have The Half-Blood Prince, which is actually the 6th movie in this series. This is one of the movies that I just watched the least out of any of them. I'm not sure why, because I still like the movie. Part of it might be that we didn't have the DVD for Half-Blood Prince when I was growing up, and I'm not sure what really made me like this one less than the others, but I don't know. It might be me associating it with Order of the Phoenix, which came right before it. Either way, I like the beginning and how it plays out. We see Harry flirting with a girl and him just getting whisked away by Dumbledore. Harry was needed to recruit a new teacher, Professor Slughorn. Once they succeed, he just went back to the Burrow and he reunites with his friends, which is nice. They witness Snape making the unbreakable vow with Mrs. Malfoy, and that's enough for Harry to know Snape's a bad guy. I like how from very early on in this movie it is foreshadowing how it's going to end. Stuff like the Vanishing Cabinet, the vow, and Slughorn. They're also vital for the story to take place. This is the movie that Harry spends most of the time with Dumbledore. He's helping him with the special mission just to defeat Voldemort. Aside from that, at school it's pretty boring though. Harry finds a potions book that teaches him many different things and spells and has a mysterious owner. Ron tries out for Quidditch, and Harry is tasked with retrieving a memory from Slughorn that's vital to defeating Voldemort. It's honestly pretty boring until near the end of the movie. Once Harry finds out there are Horcruxes, him and Dumbledore go to retrieve one, and it seriously weakens Dumbledore. When they got back to Hogwarts, they see it's being attacked. Harry finally finds out Malfoy's mission is to kill Dumbledore himself. And so he doesn't have to, Snape does it. Snape kills Dumbledore and keeps Malfoy from doing so, which is good for his soul. Then as chaos ensues, Harry finally finds out that the Half-Blood Prince was actually Snape himself. This movie is good, but not as good as many of the others. I like the mystery of this, but after you've seen it once, mystery is hard to, still be good, if that makes sense. It loses its luster for sure the second time around. At number 5, I have the Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is the 7th movie. This movie's very good. It just has the unfortunate position of being a part 1 of 2. That means the story is incomplete, and it is missing a lot of finality that the other will bring. That being said, I did really enjoy this movie. From the start, with everyone coming to the house to try to bring Harry to safety, it's fun, but it's also very serious. Especially after that ride, and some people, like Mad Eye himself, didn't make it there alive. But then there is emotional whiplash because we go from that to getting ready for Bill and Flora's wedding. I really like the sweet moments we got with Harry and Ginny, and them both knowing he wasn't going to be able to go to school this year, which sucks because they were just kind of starting to establish their feelings for each other. Then when the wedding is attacked, they go on the run and the real movie begins. I loved how much you could figure out if you really paid attention to the movie. Like how the Death Eaters would find them by saying Voldemort's name, and how the Deathly Hallows played a part in everything. We finally really get to see the trio out in the real world beyond Hogwarts trying to save the world. Some scenes that stick out to me are the scenes at the Ministry, the Malfoy's Manor, and anytime they're trying to destroy a Horcrux. And the Horcrux itself is trying to cause a rift between Ron and the other two, and I find that very interesting as well. But in the end, Ron comes back to them with a little help from Dumbledore. It was absolutely brutal watching Luna's dad essentially sell them out because he wanted Luna back so bad, and I don't know, it led to a great scene just at the Malfoy Manor. It was crazy how it all played out at the Manor, especially losing poor sweet Dobby. But that's how the part ended, and I will continue to talk about it once we get to part 2.
Harry, you put your name in the Goblet of Fire.
At number 4, I have the Goblet of Fire, which is the 4th movie. Now for the movie with the worst hair, and probably my favorite meme of all Harry Potter memes. I always really enjoyed the Goblet of Fire. It was an introduction to some really cool and sometimes not so cool magic. For example, in the first hour, we learn about portkeys, we get to see like a TARDIS-like tent, which is bigger on the inside, and we got to see where the Quidditch World Cup takes place. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the cup itself. But we also get to see the Dark Mark and Death Eaters, and Harry getting defeated by a herd, just like Mufasa. This movie really balances a line of being very lighthearted all year and also very dark. Like, I think of how tense the scene when Harry gets, like, his name pops out of the goblet. But also think about the silly little scene where the two schools arrive at Hogwarts. I love the idea of the Triwizard Tournament, even though it was never mentioned before this movie. I love the idea of having one representative from each school, at least usually, and having them essentially compete to win a ton of gold and bragging rights for the school. I love the tension between the three schools. One thing that really annoyed me was Ron hating on Harry for the first half of the movie. It was so stupid watching this conflict when he knows Harry would not have been someone to enter just for glory. It also had conflict between Hermione and Ron. Ron won't admit his feelings, which causes a lot of conflict. And someone who does want to admit them, Victor Crumb, comes in and makes him very jealous. There's a lot of dumb teenage drama in this one, which I kind of enjoy. This film introduces us to 3 new main characters. Mad-Eye Moody, kind of, which is, not really him, but, Cedric Diggory, and finally Voldemort's, true self. I really like Cedric. He took Harry under his wing, and even when Harry should have been really jealous of him for being popular and dating the girl he liked, he wasn't. Cedric was truly a good dude, and Mad-Eye was his teacher all year. Well, he wasn't. Barty Crouch Jr. was, and he was just there to try to kill Harry. But he was still one of the best Defense Against the Dark Art teachers that they've ever had. Finally, we get to see, oh my gosh, at the end when we finally see Voldemort resurrected, it's crazy. I love that the Portkey stuff was reused from the beginning. We got to see all of the Death Eaters, and Cedric is killed by Pettigrew. It was a very crazy ending. Harry wins against Voldemort yet again with the help of his dead relatives and dead people he knows, and brings back Cedric's body for his dad. This movie was very entertaining. It felt like more of a big blockbuster than the previous 3, in my opinion. At the very least, this is one of the most fun movies of them all in the Harry Potter series.
You're a wizard, Harry.
At number 3, I have The Sorcerer Stone, which is the first movie in the series. Arguably, 2 most important parts of a story are at the beginning and at the end. And if they don't get The Sorcerer's Stone right, then none of these movies would have really worked. But they really did so well. This movie was our first introduction into the magical world, just like Harry's, and it's kind of set like that, and I love that. I love how we go from the beginning, where Harry is a stowaway child living under the stairs at his aunt's house. He had a horrible life of being bullied and abused, and nothing was looking up for him. Yet, even before the letters started coming in, he had hope and joy in his life. I always found that inspiring. You can always find good in things if you just look hard enough. But then his entire world is flipped upside down when he gets his first letter, even if he can't read it yet. He finally is given hope that someone's out there and who wants to talk to him. His fight with Vernon to try to get one of the letters are fruitless, but people keep wanting to talk to him, and I think that means the world to Harry. They try so hard that they follow him to a remote island to bring him to his true home. This is also our introduction into magic and Hagrid. I loved watching Harry get so angry about the lies he was told about his parents, then the curiosity of being told he's a wizard. That only gets better when he's taken to buy all his magical items. So much has happened, but he wasn't even at Hogwarts yet. The next big introduction to him was the Weasleys at the train station. Little did he know he'd be meeting his best friend, future wife, and surrogate mother that day. And then it's amazing how many people he met so quick, because he met Hermione literally minutes later. I loved the way that Hogwarts looked exactly like I expected it after reading the books. Especially from Fluffy to the stairs, it all looked amazing. I loved meeting all the professors, notably Snape, McGonagall, and Dumbledore. They got really lucky with how great all the actors were in this series, especially the kid actors. They're usually not great. Then I loved, at the end of the year, they were able to use all their skills that they learned throughout to get to the Philosopher's Stone to protect it. And though Harry's showdown with Voldemort was short, it was still good for the first one. As I said before, the beginning and end of the story are very important, and I truly think that they nailed the beginning.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
At number 2, I have the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is the 8th and last movie of the series. This movie was the culmination of years of watching and reading Harry Potter, and against all the odds, they really stuck the landing. And it really helped that 90% of this movie was the Battle of Hogwarts, and that was so cool. I love seeing them go from getting everyone together and ready to fight to actually fighting the Death Eaters. The fight felt so final and absolute. It genuinely felt like a battle in a war. I love seeing Harry sneak back into the school and everyone, especially McGonagall, stuck up for him. We even got to see her take out the Carrows when attacking Snape, which is very nice. I loved watching each side build up as much as they could. The Death Eaters were getting dark wizards, werewolves, giants, trolls, spiders, and so many other terrifying creatures. And Hogwarts just really had the Order members, students, and teachers. They also got the statues to fight for him. That's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when McGonagall joyously got to finally use the spell to awaken them. This is just such a good final movie for the series. The story felt completed, and it felt like every second we spent watching it or reading it was worth it. I loved seeing Voldemort truly scared of death as more and more of his Horcruxes were taken out. He was attacking the school out of desperation because he thought Harry could stop him. His cocky attitude about his immortality was one of his biggest downfalls, though. If he truly thought he could lose, he would have hidden Nagini somewhere way out of the way. But instead, she was in the battle. The battle itself was amazing. I loved finally seeing people like Kingsley and Molly Weasley duel different people and show why they're some of the GOATs. The battle with Harry and Voldemort was okay, but kind of boring in my opinion. My favorite scene that came from the movie came from Snape's memories, though. We finally got to see how much he really loved Lily and risked his life in order to make up for what he did. He was able to fool one of the greatest dark wizards of all time by love alone. Once again, Voldemort underestimated love and paid for it dearly. I really loved this movie and thought it was an amazing end to the series.
Expecto Patronum!
At number 1, I have The Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the third movie in the series. There are many reasons why The Prisoner of Azkaban has always been my favorite Harry Potter movie. One of them, honestly, is that we owned the DVD as kids and watched the heck out of that movie. Another was how fun the movie was. Up until near the end of the movie, it was pretty chill and upbeat. It was so funny and silly, and some people hate the movie for that, but I really liked it. I also liked the jump of adultness this movie had compared to the last. The first two Harry Potters felt so kiddie, but this movie, while staying upbeat, became more of a serious movie. Literally serious movie, that's funny. Now, actions they do at the school are starting to be important outside of just their little world. It's starting to be important to the whole wizarding world. I loved how much this script was just really tightly written to tell the story. You can say it's the writing from the book, but the other books don't feel this condensed and done as well as this one, in my opinion. I thought the story was so interesting, and adding characters in like Lupin, Sirius, and Pettigrew really upped the importance in the series. We finally get more of a backstory into the night Harry defeated Voldemort, and we learn who really betrayed the Potters that night. I thought the child actors finally really got into their groove in this movie. I truly think every student did a better job in this movie than they had in the past, which makes sense since they're getting older, but that doesn't always happen. I love the explanation and exploration of Animagi, and seeing them in action was really cool. I love seeing Snape completely distrust Lupin all year, and him to get it completely wrong at the end. And the use of the time turner to fix everything at the end was really great. It might have felt like a bit of a cop-out, but I don't think so. They hinted at it all year with Hermione's classes, but never overtly mention it. And they never use it again in the main series, which is good, because then it would have felt like a cop-out. Lastly, I want to talk about how cool everything looked. From Buckbeak to Lupin turning into a werewolf, everything looks so good, especially for 2004. I really love this movie, and it has and always will be my number 1. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Comment below what your personal ranking would be, because I'm curious. And subscribe if you like this video, because I do a lot of videos like it, and I do them every single week. Aside from that, though, have a fantastic day. I will see you next week. Bye.